Welcome back, guys, to another DFS and gambling video, and today I'm going to be going over UFC 250, Nunes versus Spencer. UFC's been very, very good here lately. The fight card's been great. A couple, well, I take that back. A couple, were iffy, but the fights were just great. The smaller octagon last week was awesome. There was tons of finishes. Did not make a video. Haven't made a video since it's been 2 weeks since I made a UFC video. Been busy with NASCAR, but we're back with a UFC video. Let's jump right into it. This is a great card. Anytime you have an actual UFC pay-per-view fight, the fights are going to be awesome. And if you can just take a look here at the salaries and the fights, you got Nunes, Spencer, O'Malley, Wineland, Stamen, Kelleher, Minifield, Clark, Burns, Dunham. I mean, just some really good fights. The odds are all mixed up here. But there's a couple of fights that I really want to target in this fight card. And obviously, one of the first things that I tell people in my MMA strategy, I'm not the best MMA player, but ever since I've started doing these sheets, it's helped me, see some things. And the one thing that I really love about doing these charts is this right here, the finishing percentage. And I think this is really critical if you're going to win at DraftKings. And this week it's a Millie Maker contest, so you really want to get those 6 fighters that finish early, rack up the significant strikes. Just the basic stuff. But this week it's magnified. There's going to be tons of bad lineups. Don't be too surprised at all the entries, but we have tons of potential in this card. The underdogs here, it's going to be tough. You can just sort of peek through these stats here and kind of picture, and see which underdogs can maybe pull off the upset. I think it's going to be really tough to identify. But more than likely, the odd, you're going to have to look at these odds and then, maybe do a coin flip or two to pick those underdogs. But let's hop right into it. Amanda Nunes versus Felicia Spencer. Look, the salary says it all. The odds say it all. Nunes is just a badass. Let's call it for what it is. She's minus 625 at DK Sportsbook. This is where I get the odds. She puts up 100 fantasy points per fight, and she's hosting a 19-4 record. Spencer's 8-1, but the odds makers do not love her at all. They don't even partially like her in this scenario. 5'8" to 5'6", 69-inch reach to 68, pretty even there. But the finishing percentage for both of these is where I want to focus on, especially when you got a 5-round fight. These are pretty high for a women's fight. 84%, 75%, 84%, 68% is knockout TKO for Amanda Nunes. And if you're paying $9,400 for it, you want a submission, you want a TKO. You don't want this to go to a decision, unless she's racking up the strikes. And 4.34, 4.54, that's really good for this fight. I think it's going to be a high volume. I think it's just a matter of what Amanda Nunes wants to do. If she wants to take this to the ground and get a submission, she's probably going to do that. I don't think Spencer is going to be able to stop her, obviously. But 50% of her fights have ended in a submission win for her. So, it is what it is. The significant strike, actually, she holds the advantage. Strikes landed per minute she has average. But just look at this right here. Significant strikes absorbed per minute. And you might be asking, what does that mean? Well, absorbed means they are taking that many significant strikes to their body. And 6.27 with Amanda Nunes, who can pop off really fast with that knockout, or she could get her in a nice submission. This is really eye-popping to me. 6.27, you got another one down here in Brian Kelleher. They like sticking their head. They like getting those. They really get hit a lot. So, combined with the 4.34 strikes landed per minute, and Felicia Spencer will stick her head in there, where it shouldn't be. I really like Amanda Nunes. It's hard not to. She's going to be so heavily owned in the Millie Maker, but just looking at those two stats alone, this has all the makings of first second round ending. I don't see Spencer lasting more than I don't see her lasting more than 3 rounds. I think 3 rounds max. I'd be surprised if she makes it to the 3rd round, to be honest with you. So yeah, that's what I am with that. I'll probably just play Amanda Nunes in the Millie Maker, and if she doesn't put up a high score, so be it. The 100. The average here, it speaks for itself. The record speaks for itself. She's just a badass. Let's take that. Next fight, Sean O'Malley versus Eddie Wineland. 9,300 for O'Malley, 6,900 for Wineland. The odds makers say Wineland's going to be in for a rough night. And another thing here, like I said, the first thing I do is looking at finishing percentage in these fights, and if we got too high numbers, that's the fights I want to target. 73% and 80% for Wineland and O'Malley. Look, this has TKO, KO written all over it. O'Malley, 6.87 strikes landed per minute. 57% significant strike accuracy. There's just not a lot to say about Wineland here. He's obviously the better. He's obviously got more fight experience in the UFC. Take that for what it's worth. But Wineland, it's another safe pick. This fight's going to end. This fight's not going the distance. I'd be very shocked if it did, just judging by these two numbers. The KO, TKO, look, that's where it's going to be right here. Someone's going to get knocked out. It's probably going to be Wineland. The 6.87 strikes landed per minute is really, really, really interesting for me. It's the highest on the card behind Corey Sandhagen, so I really like O'Malley. I think you're either going to pick, O'Malley or Nunes here. And, it's tough for me. But it's going to be hard to argue against Amanda Nunes here. She's just a veteran. And she just has such an advantage over Spencer. Can Wineland hold up, drag this fight out to a round or two longer than it should? Potentially. But, I'm not going to bank on that at all. Look at his significant strike defense. It is one of the best on the chart, if not the best. So he's not going to go in there, asking for his head to get knocked off, judging by that. So Eddie Wineland here, he's going to lose. The question is, can O'Malley get the finish in the first round? I think at this price. And, I could definitely see this going 2 rounds. And, it's just a matter of Wineland's going to stick his head in there and get it knocked off. But judging by this, he doesn't look like he's going to do that at all. So he only observes 3.51. That's half of the rate that O'Malley's landing. So we'll see. O'Malley's going to be a safe winner. But I think Nunes has the better upside. Next fight, Stamen versus Kelleher. So Kelleher, a couple weeks ago, he's coming off he's really short turnaround. He fought a couple weeks ago. He actually pulled off an upset win, and I was on that. Kelleher, a guy that he doesn't care. He's going to go in there and he is going to try to get his. He's got a tough chin, that's for sure. You look in here, and this is obviously not the odds these two are. But Stamen only lost 2 fights. 44% finish. Kelleher wins. It's more likely going to be a finish, but it looks like Stamen to me, if he's going to win this fight, it's going to come by a late round win or a decision win. I don't think he offers enough upside here, averaging 73 fantasy points per fight. So, there's really not much advantage here, to be honest with you. Kelleher, He can land strikes too. He's going to be the aggressive fighter. He's going to get his head popped a little bit, but the question is Stamen going to be the guy that goes in there and pops it? I think Stamen's more of a technical fighter. I don't think he's going to push the issue as much. His takedown average speaks for itself. Stamen's going to want to grapple with Kelleher, and Kelleher can submit. So I by no means think this is going to be an easy fight for Stamen. I think Kelleher has a path to victory here if this goes to the ground, and obviously you would assume this is going to try to go to the ground because of the takedown average. So this could be closer than what the experts think. If they start striking, it could be a pretty decent fight. But I could definitely see this being a up against the fence fight where one tries to control the other. This definitely seems like it's going to go the distance, just judging by the favorite, and then judging by his finishing percentage. But there's always that path with Kelleher, though. He can get popped, as we see right here. So I think I'm going to stay away from this fight. I think I'll stay away from this fight as well. But if you feel good about an underdog, you could just stack these top two. But moving on, Alonzo Menifield versus Devin Clark. Alonzo Menifield 9,000, Devin Clark 7,200. About the same here. With this fight, a good size favorite. Not as big as these top two. Look, Menifield's going to come in there, and he's more than likely going to get the TKO win, or the KO win. He's not going to mess around at all. So, to me, I think this is a classic case of let's just keep putting this guy against weaker competition. Let's build his image up. Let's get him there to 10-0. And I think this has, first round knockout written all over it. The question is, will it be as highly owned in GPPs as these two? I definitely think Menifield's going to win here. I definitely think it's going to be by knockout. There's nothing here that says this is going 2 rounds at all. Strikes landed per minute. He's a high volume puncher. And he's going to land 48% of them as significant strikes. So he's going to do his thing. He's not going to go for takedown. This is going to stay on the feet. Devin Clark, he probably wants to get this on the feet, but as you can see here, Menifield is pretty good at takedown defense. So I think this has a case to be the first round. This definitely has a first round feel to it by Menifield here. I really like Menifield. I think he will put up similar numbers like 100. I think he has a chance to be in the GPP lineup depending on what these 8,000 guys do. But I really love Menifield in this spot. It's just hard not to, looking at stats. And I will say this about how I go about MMA. I'll listen to other guys as well. I'm always learning. But when it comes to stats, I'm more of a numbers person. Obviously, I know numbers doesn't always translate. Numbers isn't the best way to view things in sports like MMA. But when I see advantages like this on the stat sheet, it's the 100%. Finishes is going to win. So it tells me Menifield is not going to waste. He's not going to waste time. He's going to get to it, and there's just too many factors. So, like I said, Menifield's going to win this handily, I think, and he definitely has a chance to be, on the winning roster. Herbert Burns, coming off of his brother's great win last week versus Evan Dunham. This is an interesting fight. Herbert Burns, a submission guy. He is very good at takedowns. And when he gets that takedown, you have to watch. You got to watch because he might submit you. More times than not, You can see this. 80% of his fights have been finished. 70% of them have been by submission. So, not a high volume striker. Dunham is. So, obviously, you can see what we got here. We have a grappler, submission guy versus a stand-up guy. What's going to give here? You know, Herbert Burns is probably going to go in here. He's probably going to take care of business. He's probably going to get that submission. He has a 3-inch reach advantage. This could probably be a second, third round submission win for Herbert Burns is probably what I'll look at in betting on DraftKings Sportsbook. But yeah, not much to say about that. I think he holds a great advantage on the floor. So if this is going to go on the floor mat type of fight, Herbert Burns is probably going to dominate, and he has a very good chance of winning in the first round, second round. You know, that's why they're so expensive. That's why the odds are so good. Yeah, so take that for what it's worth. Next fight, Charles Byrd versus Mackie Pitolo. I think is how you pronounce that. You know, here's where we start talking about these closer fights, the ones that, you know, you could see possible upsets. Look, both of these guys right here, you know, the fantasy points per fight, you know, it doesn't really pop off. But when the finishing percentage, it definitely pops off because both of these guys are over 75%, you know, 75 and 80%. And that right there says, whoa, I need to take a step back here and I need to see, you know, what's going on with these two. Both guys, you know, 10 and 6, 12 and 5. This is probably guys that want to put on a show. Both of these guys are probably looking at their records and be like, well, this is not helping us at all. You know, so we need to go out here. We need to put a show. It's UFC 250, great fight card. Let's not be the, you know, bad apple of the bunch. You know, the rotten apple of the bunch. So, to me, Pitolo, the strikes per minute is higher. Bird's probably going to hit more of his strikes. It's significant. Submission. Look, I really can't explain this number at all. You know, to be honest with you, I'd have to go back and watch the fight. But the numbers are pointing towards this fight being on the winning card, I think. I need to look more into the fight, but this has all the feelings of a knockdown, drag out, you know, one of those classic brawls, you know, that we see. If Pitolo comes in here with 5.42 strikes landed per minute and pushes the issue, we definitely see this stoppage. You know, he's more likely of the two to get the knockout. Bird more likely of the two to get the submission. You know, as you see here, Pitolo is not going to take this to the floor. 0% takedown average. But here's what's concerning me here. Pitolo, not that great at takedown defense. So if Bird's going to come in here and he's going to take it to the floor and try to get, you know, one of those submission wins, there's a good chance that happens. You know, if this goes to the floor, Bird's probably going to dominate this fight. You know, and there's plenty of those, you know, in here. But if it stays on the feet, you know, Pitolo's going to win. If Bird takes it to the floor, grapples him, takes him down, you know, Bird's probably going to win. So there's a very good chance this card is on the winning lineup, especially if Pitolo can pull this off. You know, like I said, this is just one of these, you know, you have to go beyond the numbers and look deeper into. So this is definitely a fight I'm going to look deeper into because it obviously has a great chance of not going the distance. Moving on, Neil Magny versus Anthony Rocco Martin. First thing that stands out to me here, the 80-inch reach to the 73-inch reach. I had to highlight that because that's definitely a big advantage here. But the problem here with me is this right here, the 46 and 59. Look, this has decision written all over it. Do I want to, you know, go in here and try to get a win, you know, from Rocco Martin? You know, if Magny's the favorite, he's 8,700, but he's only finishing 46% of his fights. Odds are, you know, more likely than not, this is going the distance if he's going to win. You know, so I don't see it. You know, I could definitely see, you know, Rocco is more likely to submit, you know, than I think Neil Magny is to get a knockdown or knockout victory. So I'll probably stay away from this fight because, you know, this is one of those where it leans Magny, the odds and everything, you know, the 80-inch reach. But the numbers, look, they're not high volume punchers. They're not that accurate with the significant strikes. They don't really absorb a lot of punches. So it's going to be one of those. It's going to be a more technical fight. With the cage, being shorter and smaller, that definitely has something to do. Could definitely make this a more likely to finish. That's something that people are not going to talk about as much. But the cage being so small has, like I said, improved the numbers greatly last week of fights that you wouldn't consider being finished. But I just think this is a fight where they're not really high volume punchers. Magny can. He's got 3.93, but the significant strike defense, they're middle of the pack. But, like I said, 46-59. Is he really going to be in the winning lineup if he scores 70? Probably not. So, probably stay away from this fight. It's a good fight to gamble on. Put a bet on. But, as far as DFS goes, I'm not paying the $8,700 price tag for Neil Magny. I'm just not going to do it. Cody Garbrandt versus Rafael Asuncio. I can't really pronounce that name. But 7,600, 8,600. Look, this fight, it's Garbrandt or walk away to me. If it goes the distance, I can't say it. I can't say his name. So if Rafael takes this to distance, there's a good chance that he wins. But is he gonna have enough volume? Is the question here. I don't see that being the case. I think he's gonna land enough shots that if this does go the distance, that will hurt Garbrandt. But listen, the 82, the 52. This is another one of these things that I love seeing. Garbrandt, the favorite. Garbrandt, 82% finish percentage. Look, he's going to go for the knockout. And I love knowing that. So, to me, he's definitely not going to land the strikes landed per minute that you love to see from some of these other guys. But, at the same time, he finishes fights. And if he finishes fights, it's better than a decision. That right there is going to get you, 15 to 30 more points. So at 8,600, he becomes very attractive. If you really like Garbrandt, I think he's going to be a staple in your lineups. So there's not really much to like about Rafael, but if he takes it the distance, lands enough good shots, then maybe. But this just has Garbrandt written all over it. So yeah. Chase Hooper versus Alex Caceres, 8,500, 7,700. Look, I'll be honest with you. When I did these numbers, the 111 pops off. And then you look here, 15 and 12, 9, 0, and you're like, wow, this must be a deal, but here it again. We have another fight, sort of a scruggly veteran in the sport, Alex Caceres versus a young up-and-comer Chase Hooper. This is a fight that's more than likely picked out if Hooper does his thing and doesn't make any mistakes. Hooper's going to get the KO. Let's just call it for what it is. Hooper's probably going to get this KO or he's going to get a submission. He's going to finish this fight. Caceres is going to probably take this distance if he is going to win this fight. And that's what you expect in a veteran versus a young and up-and-comer. Look, the significant strike accuracy, most of these 5.16 is going to land. So that tells me right here, these three numbers. He's really good at dodging big hits. He's a active striker, 5.16 per minute. 63% of those are significant strikes, so over half. And his takedown defense is really good. There's not a lot of pats here for Caceres. This has, just like I said, it's if he does his thing, he proves his worth. Hooper wins easy. If the big stage gets to him, this could be a fight. This could be a more interesting fight, and we could see Caceres winning this. But the numbers just doesn't speak it. So I will probably have a lot of Chase Hooper, and I won't think twice about it. We just gotta trust what it is. So Gerald Meerschaert versus Anthony Avi. Anthony Avi just getting he's the replacement. Just announced today. This fight. Look, we don't have any odds, but from most people that I follow and trust, they expect him to be close to a minus 200 favorite. Somewhere in there. 175, 200. Somewhere in there. Look, you see these two numbers right here. Bang. This is all I wanted to see. Forget, the other stuff. When I see these two stats right here, the finish percentage, I know this fight's probably going to be on the card. And I'm not really sure, I watched a little bit of Anthony Avi film to, get a better look for these stats. Anthony Avi is a striker. He's not much of a submission person. He didn't really look comfortable on the ground in these fights that I was watching. But obviously it's weaker competition too. And he's on a winning streak. Let's call it for what it's worth. He's 8-2. I think he's won like 5 fights in a row. So he's definitely dead enough to catch the eye. But are we really sure that this is going to be a good fight? Anthony Avi's got active hands. He's a little bit twitchy, but at this level, most guys are twitchy. It just depends on level of twitchiness they have. Meerschaert 7,800, man. It seems like we've had the last 3 slates. There's been 1 or 2 guys that the favorite has pulled out, and the underdog gets the benefit of it, and they get some guy that we've never heard of. Same case here. He holds a 3-inch reach advantage over Anthony Avi. He's 30-12. It's a veteran versus an up and comer or a young guy. I don't want to say up and comer, but just look here. This fight's not going the distance, and more than likely this has got Gerald Meerschaert submission win written all over it here. He's a savvy veteran. He's definitely the older of the two. But I think in a fight like this, on short notice, I think this will definitely favor Meerschaert here. Anthony Avi is making his UFC debut in the UFC 250. So the nerves, and you're facing a veteran. It obviously probably go away, when you're in there for a couple minutes. But could we see a quick submission win for Gerald Meerschaert? I wouldn't be surprised. I'm probably going to have a lot on Meerschaert here. A lot. I just think the big stage, the big lights, the veteran's going to pay off here. 30-12, submission victory written all over it. And, he's probably going to pop him a couple times before he submits him. So, 73.5. Let's factor in some losses here. So, definitely could see a 95, 100 day, and at 7,800, man, you got to eat that alive. Final 2 fights on the card: Alex Perez, Jose Formiga. Aljamain Sterling versus Corey Sandhagen. These two fights, you're probably going to have to pick, one of these two. Odds are you might have to pick both. Just because the value's not there. So you're going to shove these guys in your lineup, not knowing any better. But Perez versus Formiga, to me, the fantasy points per fight sticks out right here. He's a small favorite. But look here. And I preached this enough already. This is more likely going to go the distance. These guys are both most of their finishes have come, the way of submission. But look, the more volume puncher is Alex Perez. But I really don't know. I don't really have a good grasp of this fight, to be honest with you. He's the more active puncher. He's the more active grappler. Formiga, the more technical of the two. But both are really good at takedown defense. It's really a coin flip. And as you can see here, everything's a coin flip in here. Every single thing. So, Formiga does a very good job of not getting hit. So, it could offset this a little bit. This has got submission written all over it. I really don't see a big score coming out of these two. And odds are neither one of these is going to be in the winning lineup. If Perez comes out there and just hammers him, then potentially. But just can't see either of these two being in the winning lineup. Last fight before I get off here, Aljamain Sterling versus Corey Sandhagen. Look, I think this fight is more likely to be in the winning lineup than that one. But look, right here, 50 and 58, so roughly half of their wins have came by finishes. Look, Corey Sandhagen is going to try to knock Aljamain Sterling out of the octagon. Let's just call it for what it is. He's also going to probably get his head rocked a couple of times if he's not successful doing that. But the thing is with me, man, 7.14 strikes landed per minute. If this does go the distance, this could be the winner of this fight. Is definitely, with the volume going to be thrown, this has all the makings of a knockdown, a slugfest. This is what this has, and similar to those up there, one of those fights up there, I forget which one it was, but I think it was Stamen and Kelleher. But look, that right there, I like this fight way better than I like this one. I think the winner of this fight should be in the winning lineup, judging by all the top heavy favorites. Yeah, the winner of this by decision, more than likely, is probably going to go the distance. But look at Sandhagen, man. He's such a high volume striker, and if he wins, you can expect that 105. So I'm not really worried if he wins by knockout. He's going to get his, and obviously I think, Sandhagen, if you're going to have one of your guys lose, he could probably put up 40, 50 points if he loses. So yeah, that's how I feel about this. I think got to take a stand up here, and you got to take a stand somewhere down here. It's gonna be interesting because I don't see a lot of underdogs winning. Maybe it's Rocco Martin here, maybe it's Patolo. So Mearshart, I'm gonna have a lot of. Like I said, I'm probably gonna pick this fight. So. Look, hope this chart helped you guys. If you could, please thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It's really going to help me out. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers. And I will have a NASCAR video posted probably tomorrow night or early Saturday. So with that being said, hope you guys get in that Millie Maker, and I hope we crush on Saturday.